Thank you for being here, the great Kenneth Ling.
Thank you for having me.
For most of my episodes, I like starting it off talking about academia, just because the main focus is people who are in college.
Right.
So, first of all, I just want to go into, again, high school background, college background, major, and just like the general gist of what you're doing academic-wise. I actually realized yesterday that Adam didn't go to Brooklyn Tech. I thought he went to Tech. He went to Bronx Science.
Right, he used to go to high school with me, yeah. We used to know each other back then. We used to have a couple classes. So I did go to Bronx Science for my high school. Here, I'm at Stony Brook for college, and I'm majoring in economics with a minor in dance.
I didn't know you had a minor in dance.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I started off taking a couple classes just because I used to be in the health science track, and I would kind of
Really? When were you in the health science track? I didn't know that.
It was my first 2 years here.
Okay. Okay.
And then I would need the dance classes to kind of cut my schedule, so I would want to go. And then it just ended up being like the dance instructor was like, yeah, you might as well just
take the minor. Like, you've already taken so many classes, you might as well go with it.
Right.
Okay. So for specialized high school, I'm assuming your parents probably pushed you into it, or like, you know, like not push, like not force, but like they heavily reinforced, you know, taking the SHSAT and going to the specialized high school and stuff like that.
Yeah. My parents have like a strange way of teaching where they will not necessarily like force me, but in a way they did force me to take the SHSAT. Yeah, but they weren't like, you have to go to STEM. They were like, you have this freedom now, but you have to take the SHSAT.
Right. I think a crucial point to bring up for the entirety of this talk with you is that your parents actually aren't the average immigrants, because I know your dad went to aviation high school, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then I don't know your mom's background.
My mom went to Flushing High School.
Okay, so when did they come to the U.S.? Like, were they born here, or did they move here?
No, but they did come. My mom came when she was 8 years old.
Okay.
My dad came here when he was 4.
Okay.
So
basically, they're like, more or less, culturally speaking, they're U.S. natives.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that makes a huge difference in like a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about. So going into high school, took the SHSAT, you got into Bronx Science. In Bronx Science, did you ever have a kind of draw to any direction in terms of school?
Not necessarily. I would want to say that it was more science based, which is true. Yeah, I mean,
it's specialized high school. That's how they are.
And it pushed me to want to be a health science major a little more. But overall, I did find out my passions and who I am in high school, which is what helped me a lot.
With performing and stuff?
Yes.
Okay, so how early did you start performing? For those who don't know, Kenny's actually a very talented singer.
I'm flattered.
So how early in your life do you think, or was it high school that you really started getting into music and singing, or was it earlier on?
Earlier on, I used to sing a lot when I was like 7, 8, right? So my mom has clips of me singing at my aunt's weddings, and I used to love it back then. And then when I was going through my puberty stages, I went through a point where I was like, performing isn't that cool, like, singing isn't that cool, because a lot of people don't talk about it. They just talk about singing in the shower. So I dropped off for a bit, and then a couple of my friends, and especially musical theater in high school, brought me back into the life. And I realized that the more I sang, like, it helps me with a lot of like anxiety if I do have, or anytime I'm unsure of myself.
Were you ever anxious when you performed, or was it when you performed it was the opposite and you weren't anxious? It was more of a comforting feeling.
It always causes anxiety.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the butterflies never end in the beginning of the performance, but the more that you're accustomed to it, the more you know how to deal with it, and then you're like, shut up.
I control you. You don't control me.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So coming out of high school, when was the first big performance that you did in high school that you think really kind of set the pace for you enjoying music the way you do?
It was actually my first musical, which was my freshman year.
Okay. So high school? Okay, it's really early then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did West Side Story.
Ooh.
So, yeah, and I was Chino. So Chino is the guy who kills Tony.
Yeah. Spoiler, no, but you should have seen West Side Story by now. I haven't seen West Side Story in a long time. I have to rewatch that movie.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great musical.
It's a classic.
One of the classics. And well, the reason why I fell more in love with the musical theater culture is because during my opening night of my very first musical, we had been practicing, and I'm supposed to shoot like Tony before he runs into Maria's arms.
Okay.
And during that scene, I had the gun up.
Okay.
And he ran into her arms, so I was supposed to shoot him already.
So it was
yeah, the sound
so
people
how do you fix
messed
that?
up. So during rehearsals, I used to say boom, and I said boom very low.
Okay.
Just to like clear my mind that it didn't happen. But my mic was on, and it echoed through the whole room, and everybody ended up like cracking up during the whole auditorium. And everybody on stage they were looking at me like trying not
like,
to
what
laugh
would you
and
do?
stuff, trying to keep character. Yeah, I just ran off because I had to laugh like really hard. But after that performance, everybody was like.
So you actually started doing like a legitimate performance, not like just musical performances first.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So when did you start doing more on the musical side? Singing.
That was completely in college.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it wasn't early on at all. So when was your first singing performance? Actually, this is jumping the gun. I wanted to ask more like originating questions.
Oh,
but
that's
I'll just
okay.
keep going with this.
Yeah, my origins kind of just meld together.
Yeah.
But my first singing performance was in college with Vincent Goko.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Your first performance was with him. That honestly, that kind of blows my mind because I felt like you two were like started off separately and then came together. I didn't know that.
Because I don't really have too much of an instrumental background. I know how to play guitar and piano, but not in a way that I could support myself performance-wise.
Right.
And then when I met him, we just would jam so in sync. It was just like a match made in heaven type thing. So I was like, you have to perform with me, like, and then we did it together.
So which was your first performance? Was it like a Roth Regatta or something, or like a smaller venue?
It was a very small venue.
Okay.
Actually, I believe it was an event called Kamayan Night here.
Kamayan Night. That sounds familiar.
It was our freshman year, and it's a Filipino United Student Organization event, and it's basically for Thanksgiving, and you eat with your hands on banana leaves.
Yeah, on banana leaves. Is that like a ceremony?
Yeah, Kamayan means like eat with your hands, and then they
Okay.
just put all the food on the banana leaves.
Why banana leaves?
I have no.
They just chose banana leaves.
Yeah, I wish I could tell.
You know what's crazy? This is really off topic, but is how many people are kind of stigmatized to eating with their hands. There's every once in a while, like I've had food that I brought from home, or I make like cultural food, like Bengali food, and food like that, it needs to be eaten with your hands.
Definitely.
Like, you need to mix like the curry with rice and dal, whatever it may be, to really get the flavors in.
Yeah.
I'll be eating with my hands, and people are like, "Yo, what are you doing? Like that's gross." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like you wash your hands. Like you.
Yeah,
there's nothing
here.
wrong with this.
Definitely.
But to them, it's just like different. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
But that's weird. But then a lot of Americans eat burgers.
Yeah, right.
And wings.
But technically, it's not the same because you're not really mixing things. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you have like really cultural food, it's like
and then you have to get a little bit.
There's like a lot of sauce or curry or whatever it may be. It's like if you saw someone. Actually, I guess it's kind of weird if you're coming from like an Italian background. It's like imagine seeing someone just eating like pasta, like with a handful of stuff. That kind of looks weird now that I think about it.
Interesting.
Okay. So you started performing in college. When did you start getting like more serious with it, where it's like very freaking? Because knowing you, I mean, from all that I can remember, you were pretty frequent with like your singing and performing and stuff like that. Like it was a big part of your life from what I remember.
Right.
So when did that happen? Because I don't think it was off the bat that it just kept happening like that.
After the first performance, actually, I felt that Vincent Goko's, I don't know, I should call him Goko.
Yeah, just call him Goko.
Yeah, I feel
he's been on this.
Yeah.
I wanted him to be anonymous on the one that we had done, but then he just plugged himself. So because he wanted to plug 7 minutes, which we'll get to. But you can just say Goko. I think people know.
Yeah. Okay. Goko, his guitar skills are so refined that it was so exciting to me to be performing with somebody like that, who I could just say like, "Hey, can you learn this song?" Or he'd be like, "Hey, can you learn this song?" And then it would just happen within the next day or half a day. He would learn it, and then we'd jam to it, and it just got me excited about the performance aspect of my life. So after the first performance, I just dove right in.
Really, just like head first, just kept going for it.
Yeah, any opportunity I could get, I would sign up for. And now during the later years, it's the performances get a lot more frequent
Mm-hmm.
because when people see us around and we advertise ourselves 7 minutes,
Right.
they're always like, yeah, you know, you guys should perform. Can you guys perform
Right,
here
right.
and here?
You have like a little bit of notoriety to yourselves
Right.
now.
It feels good.
That's awesome. It feels good. That's dope. So, I'm gonna kind of shift away and go back to college now because I kind of skipped over a couple of things.
Yeah, definitely.
So you said you were originally health science. So what was the reason that you chose health science, and then what was the subsequent reason that you ended up switching over to economics?
So when I was younger in middle school, my grandpa passed away because of lung cancer,
Okay.
and he lived
Rest in
with.
peace.
Sorry.
Rest in peace.
Oh yes, yes, definitely. And he used to live with us for his last couple of months when my mom would take him to chemo, and he was just a very big influence on our lives because he was such a great man. He would like donate to his local temple that he went to, and everybody knew him. He was so nice and kind. And when he passed away, it was a very big deal for us, and I wanted to like become an oncologist and study, you know, cancer so that I can help possibly with chemo or radiation or possibly find a cure,
Right.
because that was something that I was very passionate about.
Yeah, cancer hits home hard.
Definitely.
I know I have a friend whose cousin's mom, so his aunt, had gotten breast cancer, and like, you know, when he talked about it, like, he'd break up about it a little bit, or like, you know, I could feel like how much weight it had to it. So that makes sense that it would, you know, completely drive your decision to go towards oncology.
Definitely.
But you know, you switched later on, so you know what had happened down the line.
Yeah, so college came around and life hit. So I realized that I academically didn't put in enough time into the subjects that I was learning. So I would get by, you know.
Right.
But I wasn't doing top notch, and I feel like I would have been a poor doctor because I didn't put in the time to be like, yes, like I'm gonna save lives, and this is what I have to do. So I'm gonna get my head in the game.
I actually talked about this with Adam yesterday, who had one of his friends is actually going to medical school, got accepted his sophomore year, saying that, you know, when you want to get into medical school, when you want to be a doctor, it's something that you have to be so driven and passionate to, you know, like, you have to block out everything else in your life to an extent, because if you really want to get into med school, you have to be like the top, you know, 5%.
Oh yeah,
2%,
and you gotta be
whatever it may
different and all that.
Yeah, yeah. You just have to, you know, want it more than everyone else, and you have to put in so much hours. So it's understandable.
Yeah, certainly. So I realized that wasn't what I was doing. So, you know, I do try to raise money. During my sophomore year in college, I raised money for St. Baldrick's, which is an organization to help childhood cancer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think you donated hair at one point too, right? Donated hair.
I raised the money so I could shave my head.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
And stuff like that I realize is something that you can do rather than immersing yourself in it just because.
Like, you don't need to be the biggest influence, but, you know, every little bit counts. It makes a little bit progress towards, you know, the greater good of things.
Yeah, you stole the
that
words
makes
right out
sense.
of my mouth. Thank you.
I got you. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to music now. So switch it straight back.
Sure.
So, you know, you're saying how school wasn't always your biggest thing. So, you know, performances, you felt you had more of a drive towards it, right? So was there any point where, and you know, this still applies now, where you felt like this is the passion that you should kind of pursue as more of a career, or do you think it's more of a passion?
That actually came to me very recently.
Okay.
So I'd say.
I mean, it's about that time. We're seniors, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So I was in gear to find out what I wanted to do, but it was actually around last year, maybe less than a year ago, that I was up really late. I pulled an all-nighter.
Studying for a test. What test was it?
Oh no, I was at a party.
Oh. Okay.
If there are young kids out there, but I was out the whole night, and then in the morning I didn't go to sleep, and I went out to eat, and then I started losing my voice.
Okay.
So, and then this was around the time when I was taking classes in the summer or the winter at Stony Brook.
In between sessions. Okay.
So I had to drive, and every time I drive, it's an hour, and I usually sing because that's what I do. Because I couldn't sing, my car rides were so like jittery. I did not know what to do.
Oh.
I felt so lost in a way that I actually broke down one time because
Really?
I was trying so hard to sing because
How
I
did
thought
you
it
lose
was...
your voice that bad? What had happened to cause that?
I don't know. I think it was the exhaustion plus, I don't know, me yelling maybe the whole night. I don't know. But when that happened, I realized that it was something I couldn't live without.
Right.
And I vowed that if I did regain my voice back, because at the time I didn't know if I would have it.
So when did this happen? It was like early, you said last year? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I realized that I would work on it and do something with it because it's what keeps me grounded.
Right. That's crazy. It's just like you never. What it's I suck at anyone that watches any of these videos is gonna realize how much I suck at saying. You never realize what you have until it's gone.
Right.
Until you don't have it. Something like
yeah.
I'm so bad at those. I don't know why. That's part of my brain just doesn't function when it comes to those sayings.
That was right though. That was right.
But yeah, so when you lost the ability to do it, you realize like how much how important it is to your being as a person, like a central aspect of who you are. And I mean, I guess it goes to show how true that is, because one of the main reasons I wanted you on the show is because I know how big of a part music plays in your life and how big of a part singing plays in your life.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to go into 7 minutes now, because I know that Goko talked about it. yeah. I know that Goko talked about it when he was on the podcast. But I want to get your side of it as to where it started and then kind of where you guys see it going, and generally the type of music you guys want to produce and where you want it to kind of reach.
So it started off on a whim, very on a whim, because we had been performing together for about 2 years now, so this was around sophomore year. And then we were kind of just making the joke of, because we took a really funny picture and we were like, haha, if we ever were to, because we already made like a song, so
right.
We were like, if we ever make a song or make an album, this would be our album cover and it would be called this, haha. And then from there it was like, but then what will we put on it? Will we put Kenny and Vincent, or Vincent and Kenny, or are we a group? So we ended up just forming the group first and then naming it after. And we named it 7 Minutes because during our freshman year, I lived dorm-wise 7-minute walk from him. And then
that was when you were in H and he was in...
that was when I was in Tabler.
You were in Tabler. Okay, right. I forgot you started off at Tabler.
Yeah, and then when I did go to H, I got my car on campus.
Still 7 minutes?
And it was a 7-minute drive. And back home, we actually lived 7 minutes away from each other.
So many coincidences.
Yeah, so we were like, this has to be it. This is us, like 7 minutes. Because every time we text each other that we're going to hang out.
I'm 7 minutes out. Like, yeah. I'm coming in 7 minutes. That's good. I love that story. It's a good one.
Thanks.
But in terms of the genre of music that you guys would produce, what side do you think you guys fall more under in terms of like general category? Because I think you guys would fall under, and I don't know what category this is, but like like the whole like cover art category of like William Singe, was it Connor Maynard, people like that. I think you guys are more towards that, but obviously I don't want to put the label on you for you.
I see.
So I don't know what side do you guys think you'd produce on?
Yeah, I think the way we are right now, we do covers really well, because again, Goko is so skilled,
right?
But we do try to make our own music, but I see that a lot of the covers that we do perform, those influences meld into our style. So Goko listens to a lot of John Mayer, and
yeah, obviously, if you've ever met a Vincent Goko, there's a good chance he'll sing Gravity.
Oh yeah, or anything,
or any John Mayer. Honestly, there's a couple months in a row where his car exclusively had John Mayer.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, like if you went in his car, you're like, oh, is John Mayer about to come on? Am I about to hear him?
Exactly, or like the whole album,
yeah.
Forever. Yeah, yeah. His roomies know him best.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think it has more of that feel to it. I wouldn't be too sure what I would classify John Mayer as in terms of a genre right now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
he's a little mixed.
Yeah.
I think his new music has been a little different, I want to say. But I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah, his new music is like less poppy.
Yeah. I don't know what category he falls under, actually.
I think music is so broad. It's such a spectrum.
Yeah,
it's so tough these days.
Yeah, recently I re-downloaded. I made my own Spotify because I was actually sharing Spotify with someone, and I deleted. So I didn't have my playlist. I don't have my playlist at all. The one that I had previously on the Spotify. And then I thought to myself, I was like, I should just restart my playlist. And now that I restarted making my playlist and looking for music, I've completely messed up my life. I need to spend all of my time looking for music now.
I see.
It's just so much out there.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I forgot about this song.
Yeah, because every artist has 3 to 5 albums, and then all those albums will have a couple of good songs you'll enjoy. So that means you have to listen to every person, every album, and then as soon as you start going into another person, you find features or something like that. You're like, oh, I forgot about this person.
True.
And then you look into them, and it keeps going. It's just a rabbit hole that you keep going down.
Yeah, definitely. Like my what is it? My perspective on that is like I have a huge main playlist, and then I'll divide that one into sub playlists.
Yeah, that's where I am right now because because you always have a mood. You know what I mean? Like there's some days you're like I want like really chill music. Some days it's like I want kind of like rap music. Whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But having one really big playlist, I always found myself just skipping the songs constantly.
And yeah, definitely.
At that point, I was like, I'm so sick of this. Like, I need something new.
Yeah, you could have like listened to a song in the time that you were skipping the songs. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much music out there, and I feel like right now is one of, in the most recent years is one of the most creative times for artists because it's so easy to get your content out there. Having things like YouTube and SoundCloud. I think SoundCloud really changed the game.
Oh, yeah.
Just talking about Jay West, who's, trying to make it as a rapper. And, he doesn't have to work through a record label to get his music to people.
Yeah.
And, he's growing organically. People like his music, share his music. I as often as I can will share his song because I genuinely enjoy it. I'm like, oh, like people need to hear this. Like this is awesome.
Yeah.
So like the power of social media now it's crazy. If you really want it, like you can go and get it.
Yeah, it creates so much opportunity too because everybody says the music industry is such a hard industry.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you want to make it somewhere.
Because to be seen, that means you have to get through all of this bloat. You know what I mean? Like if you think about Russ. Russ is a really good example. Is that he kept putting out music like constantly because he knew that if he just kept doing it, eventually something would pan out.
Definitely.
And I think that goes to show just like consistency is one of the most key things right now in the music industry.
Yeah, and Gokul and I do that a lot now. We're more focused on putting out a lot of our content and writing new songs because not only is that gonna give us gateway into expanding 7 minutes, but it also helps us because our writing skills get better. Our melodies, we can create different melodies for songs, and
it's kind of just because you have to start it from scratch. So you have to feel every little aspect of it out and really fine tune it on your own time. Whereas if you do a cover, you kind of already have this blueprint, so it's not off. As soon as you start, you already know that it's not what you have created.
Yeah.
You're working with a schematic that's already present.
Right, and then you could put your own little flair to it or something.
So I've never asked you this: is who's your main influence on music? Like your favorite artist or musician, singer, songwriter, whoever it may be, that has influenced your kind of methodology to singing?
Man, that is a tough one.
That's a good question.
That is a good question. Because back then I used to like a lot of like Whitney Houston, Alicia Keys. They're so great. But there are songs I can't sing too often, so their style is a little harder to like.
For you to actually be able to replicate.
Right. But these days, I've been listening to a lot of Billy Joel. Billy Joel is probably my top artist right now. And I've been listening to a lot of like older artists like Elton John. Louis Armstrong, too, is amazing.
Okay.
And Frank Sinatra.
Classics.
Yeah.
Classics out here. See, that's another thing that I realized that I have never done in terms of my music interests is that I don't listen to enough like old school music, classical music, stuff from to 20, 30, 40, however many years ago, just because there's so much music that's consistently coming out now, it's hard to balance with how much is in the past.
Right. Yeah.
Which I think personally it really differentiates someone who's very invested in music versus someone who's kind of invested in music. Like for me it's like I am I want a good playlist, I want to have good music, but at the same time I don't go out of my way to find as much songs as I can and like invest in a genre and keep going down it.
I see.
So I think that really differentiates it just because I don't have the full spectrum of music taste that I think you need to be a qualified musician.
I see. That is an interesting point, but like I look a lot for classic songs and classic artists, and it's hard to balance like finding that and finding new songs today.
Right.
Because
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I'm not. So when I go to a party, and everybody's like rapping along to Migos or somebody, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what this song is, but I'm lit, so it's okay.
I think that's okay. There's some of the new songs that come out, especially like Culture 2 that Migos just dropped. When I listen to it, and there's someone else, Haley was saying the same thing, is that when she listened to it, she put it on in the background, was listening to it, stopped paying attention for about 20 minutes, and then she didn't realize that the song changed.
Oh,
like a lot of the music that's coming out now, it's like, especially in rap, I think mumble rap is big, but a lot of it is so fine-tuned to this mainstream direction that you can't even differentiate some of the songs. Like they're great songs, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But there's some times where an entire album will sound the same because they're just trying to produce as much music as they can. It's kind of sad, but I think it's been happening more often recently. I don't know if it's a phase in music right now, and it'll go up back to creativity. People like JUS that are going back to hard lyrics.
Right.
But I really hope this like kind of mumble rap phase fades away.
I mean, I think that music is kind of like fashion because it cycles off.
Yeah, that's very true.
If people, I mean, there's nowhere to go but up. But a lot of people, if up doesn't look so great for them, then they'll look back to the oldies and then take those styles to make another genre maybe.
Okay. It's like an up and down. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I wish I was musically talented. I really do.
I truly believe that anybody can be musically talented.
I disagree. I think okay. I think it depends on what form of musically talented. I think for singing, you have to have a set amount of kind of predisposition genetically to be able to sing very well, coupled with practice over younger years to really master your voice.
Right.
I think you can get good, but I think to be the best, you kind of already have to have it in you. And when it comes to instruments, I think I think anyone can, but the mind is so much more amiable. I think is that the right word? More mendable, whatever. I think that's the right word. But
malleable.
Malleable is the right word. Damn, man, I'm off today. I'm so tired.
Me too.
Mine's more malleable when you're a child. Like Goko, for instance, he started relatively young, and I mean he's a prime example of he can just pick things up very fast. There's a part of his brain that's already accustomed to learning music, whereas someone like me, I'm already 21. I've never touched an instrument or tried to learn one. It's so much more difficult. It's like learning another language. I think that's like the best analogy. Like when you're a kid. Like my sister's a good example. She's 5 years old, and I see her learning Bengali at home and English at the same time. To her brain, it's not learning a new thing. It's just doing things.
Right. Like she doesn't discovering the world.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're very young and you're learning whatever, maybe singing an instrument, you don't think about it like that. You're just doing it. So I think it's a lot easier to kind of store the memories and actually be able to do it in the long run and take less time and be more capable overall.
I see.
But I could be wrong. I think you could pick it up whenever also.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with your instrument point that the older that you get, the more your brain is like systematic. Yes. And
it's more structured to a set way because it's already taken 20 years to get accustomed to all of this input that you've had, and now it's not going to be used to you learning an instrument. Like when I look at music notes, it's literally a different language to me because I look at it and it's like I have no clue what's happening here. So learning it means that I would have to learn from scratch, every little bit and piece.
Note
yeah. So just like a language where it's like this is all new to me, learning every bit and piece is another step. It's the same thing with learning an instrument.
That's
so
true.
It's a little bit, I think, it's a little bit of an obstacle, but I think you can overcome it if you really wanted to.
Yeah. But the thing about singing, I do think that everybody can sing.
I don't think you have not heard me sing. You have not heard me sing.
See,
Coco's heard me sing. He's told me I can't.
Oh yeah,
he hasn't said I can't. I'm not gonna say that because he's a positive person. he has said if I practice, I can get better. But I am relatively, I won't say tone deaf, but tone incapable. So
I see.
I can't stay on a beat very well or whatever it may be, and it's. My voice just isn't that good. It's not a singing voice.
Yeah, but see, for singing, like you're the way that you are born, will tell you how high your voice can go. So a lot of people, they can be a bass or what is it? Like a tenor.
Okay.
Or a baritone, and those are the three.
What's a baritone?
Baritone is like the middle. You can't really hit high, too high. You can't really hit too low, but you have a great mid range. And
who's a good example of a baritone then?
I'm more of like a
You're a
baritone.
baritone. Okay. That's what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. So, I feel like when you're born, that's what gets dictated, but then it's all about your body. So your voice comes from your body, so it's not another instrument that you have to perfect rather than your own self, because the way you breathe out through a note really
through
affects...
your diaphragm?
Right. Like through your diaphragm. A lot of Broadway people, when they hit high notes, they put it into their nasal mask, which is over here, because that's where you could hit the higher notes.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then your falsetto is the really high, like, la, which is like really high up there. So it's all about where you move the voice through your body, and the more confidence you have in that.
I think that's a very crucial aspect of it as well. And I think you also, again, going back to, if you started younger, and for you as a good example, you started at like 7 or 8, so you have this confidence. Even though you're anxious when you're on stage, I think you have this pre-built confidence, in letting go and doing that. Because I think to be a really good musician, you have to be 100% confident in yourself.
Oh yeah.
Because you're really putting yourself out there,
And you have to be like crowd pleaser, because it's different if you're just singing a song incredibly well without moving at all, and then nobody's into it, rather than if you sing it good, but you get the crowd so hyped that they're like, I want to see this guy again.
Right. And that distinguishes a good to bad performer. Because I've been to a couple of live shows. Like Lupe Fiasco is very, very good at singing. He's a very talented musician.
Right.
But when it comes to his live performance, I don't think his music was meant for a live show. I could be mistaken. A lot of people could enjoy his shows, but personally, like when I was at his live show, I felt like it was just not the best.
Right. I see.
I prefer listening to him, on my headphones or through quality speakers, just because I think that's where his music is best.
Right.
Another good example is actually Justin Timberlake for the Super Bowl show. His performance was great, but he couldn't sing his songs while he was doing the dances and while he was doing all this fancy stuff, because he was winded.
But at the same time, like you could tell he was a veteran of performing, because he feels so comfortable and it shows. Yeah, because I was thinking the same thing when I watched the Super Bowl performance. I was like, man, that he's been doing this for years and years.
He's someone that's, I think, I won't say underrated, but a lot of people don't think about it, but he's been around for decades.
Oh, yeah.
He started at NSYNC. He's been doing music for forever. He was around during baggy clothes phase. If you look at the music video for Rock Your Body, he's wearing just like the baggiest like white thermal shirt and like sweats, and it's like the most like 90s music video you'll ever see.
Damn.
And then he's still around making music.
Yeah.
Actually, I haven't gotten a chance to listen to Filthy, but I don't know. I think the style's a little bit different from some of the songs that I've heard. Because I think he performed Filthy as the first song for the Super Bowl show, and it was more on like the dubstep-y side.
I see.
Which is weird because it was like not like modern trap, beats. It was more of like a mid 2000s dubstep beat, which was really hard. Like, I think that phase kind of went away more recently, so it was interesting. But I have to listen to the album throughout.
Yeah, same. But I was thinking he's kind of like the male Beyonce. Started off in a group, and then disconnected, and then is just flourishing on his own.
Yeah. Beyonce's so talented. It's crazy.
Yeah. She's one of my inspirations. Hell yeah.
That's dope. Music is awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna switch over from music now, and I'm glad you're willing to talk about this. Is I want to talk about being a gay man in 2018, and I feel like having this conversation, there's so much weight to it. Like even me talking about it, knowing you're okay talking about it, I feel a little uncomfortable talking about it.
I see.
Just because like it's so like it's not even that like I have any stigma against it, or I'm uncomfortable in the sense that like I don't want to talk about it. It's just that I feel like society has made it stigmatized in a sense where it's like, oh, like it's not something you just talk about, just bring it up in conversation.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's a part of someone's life. It's not a big deal, and it's something that should be talked about openly, because it's just something. It's just like someone that just likes to play sports. It's just something that they do. Like I don't understand why it's so difficult to have an open conversation about it.
I'm glad that you feel that way though, because having an open mind and be like wanting to have open conversations about it is what will help it flourish into where we want it to go. Because
I mean, that's again, this is one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to have a podcast and like record with people, is really open people's minds to how, you know, diverse the world really is, and how different people can be, but still be on, you know, quote unquote normal scale of individuality.
I love that. That's
like,
awesome.
One of the persons I talked to, he's a Bengali Muslim guy, you know, just like me, but he's a very active Republican. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about that, as soon as you think about it, you think that's wrong.
Yeah.
you
Like
know? And that shouldn't be the case. You think about it, it's like, oh, those things shouldn't go together. But when I was talking to him, you know, he brought up a statistic that even I didn't know. Apparently, there's a larger amount of Bengali Muslim individuals who are Republican or identify as Republican. And it's only more recent that declined. And, like, I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't... yeah, exactly. Like, you don't think about those things. But I want to go into kind of your, you know, upbringing and how that played in your life and like your family and all of that. And, you know, this is one of the reasons why I brought up, like, I think it's really key that, you know, your parents were very young when they came to the U.S. I think they're probably more open and didn't, you know, bat an eye when it came to thinking about it. So, you know, like how that affected your upbringing and when you kind of transitioned and, you know, figured more about yourself as you grew up.
Right. Well, I started, like, I've had girlfriends before, but that was in middle school, which is when I was sort of starting to discover myself, but was in denial about it. So I never, like, really kissed them because something in me just didn't want to be like,
gross.
Like, I want to make out with her.
Okay, which is totally understandable because guys will feel the same way about guys.
But the social, like, stigma made me think that, okay, having a girlfriend is good though, you know. But I used to have, like, teachers and everybody, you know, who I thought were handsome, and then I started, you know, exploring that aspect of it, and it just ended up being what happened because I would feel these things, but my mind would mentally block them out. Like,
Again, it's like that stigma from society, you being like, oh, what is defined as quote unquote normal. You know, what is the most common occurrence is a straight, you know, relationship. And your mind, even if you don't think about it like that as a child, everything that society has kind of put into place, it makes it more possible or plausible for your mind to think, oh, this is right versus this is wrong.
Yeah, definitely. Which kind of sucks, but in a way that is just how history was for so long, I guess. And then I did meet some friends who made me realize that it was okay for me to not block out what I was thinking. So if I did think somebody was handsome, I'd be like, yeah, then he is handsome, you know? There's nothing I could do about it if that is how I feel. And then in high school is when was a tough part of my life, I guess, because it's where I didn't want to come out of the closet, but I was already who I was, and I knew that I am gay, so I didn't want to keep that from people, so I would tell my closest friends, but I never actually told my guy friends until senior year of high school.
Okay, that's pretty far down the line.
because I always worried personally that if I did tell them, then maybe, you know, like
it would change a very understandable thing to keep to yourself, because at the time, I mean, when you're in high school, you're young, you know, and for a guy who was like, I was a straight guy in high school, I was fucking confused. I was constantly confused about everything, and you know, like I had the most like normal route, you know what I mean, in terms of, again, air quotes normal, because I don't want to say anything that will get people mad, because everyone gets mad nowadays.
That's so true.
But yeah, I think it's weird because I feel as though with these conversations, people have to tread so lightly, and especially with, you know, the more recent, so in the last, let's say, like, you know, 2-3 years with the rise of the, you know, LGBT community problems and such, I feel like it's so difficult to just talk about it instead of have it one side versus the other, you know, debate.
Right, definitely. And I got very lucky because my parents did grow up here, and, you know, when they were in college, they've gone to gay bars because, you know, one of their friends was working there. They wanted to support, so they knew about it, and it wasn't as foreign to them, and they've had, like, gay friends before. Of course, they didn't really accept it when they first found out because
possibly religious backgrounds or just cultural reasons.
I think it was more just a cultural reason, but after a year, they really settled into it very well, and my parents are very supportive of me because, I mean, just because, I don't know.
Because they're great parents.
They're
great parents.
Yeah, but their support and their acceptance of me, like when I told them, really helped me, because if you let your child know that you accept them, it made me confident in who I am, to the point where I felt like I didn't need to hide, and I could just be the best version of myself. And that is what everybody should strive to do.
And I think that's this. I want to zone in onto this what you're saying right now, is because recently on Joe Rogan's podcast, I actually listened to him talking about this I think it was a mother or father who has been giving his 8-year-old child, I think it was a male, hormone blockers, because they feel as though they identify more as a girl, right? And I think it's really, really, I don't want to use the word weird, but I think it's unintelligible to make these decisions at such a young age, because when you're growing up, you're trying to find yourself. Even if you're coming from any other background in terms of sexuality, you're trying to find yourself. So that confidence, no matter what it may be, you need to find it within yourself. Definitely. It can't be an external identification. And I think that is one of the biggest problems that the LGBT community has right now, is this identification. And I don't know how to help the community in terms of combating that. I feel as though the best way is to help the individuals rather than the ideology of just being in the community.
I see, because that's true. Like, there is a group, the LGBT group as a whole, but every case is different. Everybody's brought up differently, and everybody feels differently. So
because and I talked this with a couple of people, is that there's always this large kind of voice from the community where it sounds as though no one's supporting anything that they're doing. But I've never experienced anyone that is against the growth of the community, or the community living their lives as they should. But I think there's a small minority that keeps pushing this ideology of the group of getting more saying, getting their voice heard even more. And I'm not saying that their voice shouldn't be heard. They should be heard, but I'm saying it's like they're more focused on representing this kind of broad idea of who they are, rather than the individuals themselves. Which is more important, because the individuals will define who they want to be.
Of course, yeah. I agree with that too, though, because like me, I am a gay man. I'm also a singer, though, and I have so many other traits. I feel that
that's not the only thing that makes you who you are.
Of course,
you know what I mean. And that goes back to, and this is a really poor analogy, is like it's the same as someone who's just into something like sports. It's just like a part of you. It doesn't it is like a little bit of a defining characteristic, but it's not all you are, which is a big thing, because I feel as though whenever the conversations come up and someone from the LGBT community is talking, it's like that's the only thing that they're seen as, which is again like the wrong way to go about it. I think the support, like you said with your parents, the support needs to come internally, and that's, I think, the best way to further the community. I'm like really struggling to not mess up my words here. I don't want to hurt anyone on the internet.
Of course. No, I think that was a really good like explanation too, and I feel that a good way to combat this like identity and group versus individual is that a lot of people say, all right, so let's say that the majority of people, the reason why homosexuality is taboo is because it's not normal, right? So if it's not normal, then we should try to normalize it. And the way I do that is that I don't put I try not to put my sexuality at my forefront. Like it is because it's not just who I am. So I put like my best qualities, like everything
just like
out on the table.
Yeah.
And show people that I am very diverse and I am like accomplished in what I do. And then if they do ask, "Oh, are you gay?" I'll be like, "Yeah, I am." And
yeah, and you don't care about it. It's just, again, like it's just a part of you. Then I think that individuality is the most important thing that a lot more people need support in. Because from what I know, statistically speaking, the LGBT community has a very high suicide rate. And I don't know how much of that is correlated to actual negative criticism from individuals who don't understand the people in the community, or how much of it is just not understanding themselves, having an internal kind of struggle finding themselves as people. And that support, I think, again, it can't just be like a hormone blocker. It can't be something trying to change who they are, because at the end of the day, they have to find themselves for themselves.
Right. And I think the high suicide rate too is, like, I have been through points in my life where, especially in high school, when I thought that people knew that I was gay, but I didn't tell anybody. And I told one person because I was helping him with his struggles, because he was also homosexual. And
see, it's like I just want to put this out really quick, because like just the way, like, the word has weight to it, like how you said it there is like homosexual.
Yeah,
like,
so for me,
like, even for you, like I don't understand why, like, these words need to have this weight to it. Like it's not fluent in our language. Even for us, who, we're born in the U.S., we don't give a flying fuck what anyone does.
Right.
But it still affects, the way we think about it, because there's a part of us that's scared to say something wrong all the time, and that takes away from being able to talk about it.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, keep going. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, it's okay. So after I had helped him, he told his friends, who then told other friends. So people had been asking around if I was gay, and it got me at such a weird and depressed state. Only, like, I know that I shouldn't hate who I am, but at that time I was younger. I was in high school, and just feeling like everybody was talking about me and who I was when I wasn't ready to let people know who I was, really got me into a weird place where I didn't want to be seen, and I couldn't look people in the eyes, and it was really hard for me.
Yeah, and people shouldn't have to deal, especially at such a young age. No one should have to deal with that, because there's already so many things that can make you upset at a young age, because you're hormone driven and confused. So that only adds to it, makes it worse.
Yeah. Right, and it's like having a third arm. Like, everybody sees it there, and like they won't ask you to your face, like, is that a third arm? But they'll ask their friend,
they know,
hey,
sir.
is that a third arm? Which it's what happened a lot in high school for me.
Yeah.
A lot of my best friends in high school, like Kathleen Ho, people used to ask her all the time if I was gay. Right. And nobody asked me if I was gay. Okay. Yeah.
Again, that goes back to people are scared to talk about it.
Like, and I was the type of person where if you did ask me, I would have told you, because I'm okay with it. But in a way, that just makes it seem more of like a secretive thing that you don't want to let out, rather than something that you can just openly share.
Yeah. And I think that's something that needs to change. I think hopefully our generation gets better at changing it, but the way things are going, it's kind of difficult. People are struggling with having open conversations like this. I think that's why I love Rogan's podcast, is that everything he discusses is unbiasedly true in a sense. He discusses statistics, he discusses anecdotes, and he tells it from all sides and gives a big picture. But yeah, I think that's crucial to support the community in this sense, more on an individual level than as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. And I do see a lot of progress in our society, which is a good thing in my personal experience, because I am part of a social fraternity, an Asian social fraternity, and my fraternity is really hyper masculine. They're like manly men, So they're like hoo-hoo, like looking out and stuff. And before I joined them, I was worried because I didn't think that a gay guy would be accepted in that, or maybe he'd get a lot of shit, or people wouldn't be as close with him. But there's so much acceptance and love in my fraternity. Everybody who comes up to me, they will straight up ask me, like, because they've heard around and they're like, oh, you're Kenny, you're the gay bro. And I'm like, yeah, I am. What's up? And
I think that's how it should be.
Yeah. And I think that's great. I'm like the first openly gay bro in my fraternity. So
made history.
Yeah, I hope so. But the fact that people can come up to me and ask me and be like, how is your experience here? Because they know that our fraternity is so close and loving, that makes me very happy.
Right. Okay, so that goes to show, there is progress being made, and I'm happy to hear that. So I just want to wrap it up with a little summary of everything that we talked about. So what is your future kind of endeavors when it comes to music? Your passion with singing and all of that. In terms of school, like if you plan on getting a career after your economics degree, graduating in May, and then just kind of a little bit of both.
Yeah. So I recently found out that I would want to do something in the music industry.
Right.
After that whole fiasco with the voice thing. So, I do want to do something in the music industry, possibly talent search, or something more along the lines of data analysis, which would correlate more with my major.
Mm-hmm.
But I am open to anything in the job field in terms of the music industry. Like, I've been looking at a lot of jobs at Spotify and Warner Music Group, Sony Music Group, because within those corporations, there are so many sub categories that need to be filled that I feel like I can.
And also on top of that, you'll get direct, firsthand kind of connections. You can talk to people who are working in these industries, and
definitely,
kind of just slide them like, hey, like you want to help me out?
Yeah, that's actually the end goal. That, I do have a goal where, because I sing a lot in public, that when I'm working, I'll just sing, and they'll be like, wow, that's what we need right now. Like, what's your name? Like, maybe have it like.
That's awesome. And just kind of the future of 7 minutes. Just plug yourself, because I think again one of the main premises of this is people trying to do things. So what you guys see for yourselves as a duo, and kind of what you plan on doing in the upcoming months.
Yeah. So. Goko and I have been talking about actually releasing a small album, so like an EP.
Okay.
Which is really exciting.
I'm pretty excited. That sounds dope.
Thanks. Yeah. So that is where we want to go. That's like the first step, the preliminary step, and then from there, when we do have winter and summer breaks, it's hard to expand more than the campus community right now because we are in college. But we do try to go to a lot of open mics in the city. You
guys went to this like interesting. I don't know if you were there. There's like interesting like jazz bar once, I think. It's like very low key, but like I could see you guys being there.
Oh yeah, we did go to like a bar. I forgot what it was called, but it was right near us actually, and we did an open mic there, and all the musicians, they like performed with us, not knowing what songs that we did. They just knew like the chords in a way.
Was it like really old, like tenured people in the music industry?
But they were incredible. And that type of stuff just drives me more. It's so invigorating, and I think that I would want to start off to that 7 minutes would want to start doing more open bars and getting our name out there, because after we did that open bar, we got like a business card and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope. That's just cool.
Yeah. So it's always nice to know that what you're doing is like validated,
right,
and
seeing progress, seeing the gradual growth, and like we said about like social media and how it kind of is easy to get your name out there. Like just seeing progress over time,
definitely,
it's so crucial. Yeah, that's what I'm very happy that you came on.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. By the way,
no, dude, without a doubt,
this was a lot of fun.
Talked about a lot of important things, I think. I'll link the 7 minutes. You guys have a Facebook page, right? Yeah. So I'll link the Facebook page. I'll link. Do you guys have a YouTube channel? No, right?
We don't.
You have Instagrams though.
We have individual Instagrams.
You have individual Instagrams. I think you guys should make a co-Instagram. But
that is what I was thinking too.
I'll link the individual Instagrams so you could hear this beautiful man singing, and then my older roommate Goko, he'll have instruments and stuff. He does. Was it Sek? It's his name backwards. No, Sekol. Yeah. Anyways, he has his own Instagram where he does kind of instruments every day. He does a little bit of something every day. He changes. I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah, he has every day. He has some great stuff on that channel.
But so I'll link both those Instagrams. I'll link the Facebook page. Check them out. They're a lot more talented than I am. Yeah, thanks for listening. I hope someone gets something out of this, especially someone who's in high school or someone in early college who is kind of questioning, who they are, where they are, and where they want to go. But all in all, thanks for listening, guys. Peace out.
Thank you. Bye.